Hi. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about this idea of what I want you to do is factor risk into your business rather than let it get to you. And also I wanted to talk about how you should never let the previous customer experience dictate how you deal with the next customer. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you watch that video that I did about Eli the computer guy, and by the way, for all of you people who really think that I hate him, that I think he's an asshole, that I'm mad at him, I don't agree with everything he says, but I respect a lot of what he says. I respect the advice he puts out there, even if I don't always agree with his perspective or think that sometimes he's on some BS. I respect his opinions, I respect his perspective, and for the most part, I like his channel. So that was really, again, I'm getting a lot of shit in the comments that's like, you know, wow, I hope that dude dies and blah, blah. And it's like, dude. I'm just like, again, does he deserve to be taken down a notch sometimes? Sure, but like, you guys are going a little far with that shit. Anyway, one of the things in that video, it's titled Squashing YouTube Drama with Multimeter Probes or something like that I did, is he's quoted as saying something along the lines of like, the reason that I'm gonna choose to give up my business and go to YouTube content altogether is I'm gonna have some shit experience with a customer where I barely make any money, I'm trying to do something nice, and they start just ripping me a new one and totally screwing me over. And it's actually an interesting thing because every now and then something like that does happen, and I want to talk about how it is I don't internalize it, how it is I deal with it, and how it is I also don't let that experience affect the next customer. So one of the things I want to talk about, because as e-commerce and as these large e-commerce platforms like Amazon and eBay become more and more popular and everybody kind of feels the need to move over to these platforms, one thing I'm noticing is that they're all based on price. Price. Everybody wants to have the lowest price. And what everybody's not focusing on is their actual cost of doing business while they're trying to bring the cheapest price humanly possible to their clients. So one thing that Eli, the computer guy, will talk about every now and then, and something that I've agreed with, it wasn't Eli that introduced me to this concept. It was actually a guy named Dino that I really got to get into one of these interviews I'm doing over the next few months. Eli would say, you know, people don't consider into their cost the cost of insurance. They don't put into their cost the insurance, the client acquisition cost, the rent, the insurance, the tools they had to buy to do the job, the advertising they had to do to get the customer in the door, which is again part of the client acquisition. You got to think of all of that if you're going to stay in business. All of that's got to be in your rate. And what Dino used to say is, he was somebody, you know, he's done everything from construction to selling POS systems to selling other stuff. And one of the things he said is, when I show up on a site and I give you a bill, you don't understand what you're paying for. You're paying for my tools, you're paying for my transportation, you're paying for me to do the work, you're paying for anybody that I may subcontract that work to. You're paying for the lunch that I'm gonna eat that day. You're paying for the lunch box that I may bring to put that in at the end of the day. You're paying for the weed that I may buy on the way home from that job. The whole point is that he was saying is, you're not just paying for what would it be worth for me to do this specific little job, you're paying for everything. Everything has to be covered, because if you lowball a job and then you realize that, oh, I can't afford proper tools, and the reason I can't afford the proper tools is because I lowball all of my jobs, you're screwed. And what Eli is getting at, in what I would say is a bit more of the easier to grasp and understand in regular person terms, and he talks about you have to have your insurance covered, your rent covered, client acquisition costs, and everything else. He's saying the idea he's getting across is that a lot of people don't understand all the costs of doing business before they set their price. Particularly younger people, and me in the beginning, most certainly, I did this. I would think, well, why should this cost more than $25? And I wasn't considering every single risk, every single thing involved in the transaction. And one thing that I feel a lot of people are not including in their transactions is a risk assessment. What is the risk assessment? And this is something that I was not including in my own profit when I was running a screen business, when I was running a business that was selling screens. And this is one of the things that Dino got across to me. He noticed that every now and then I would sell screens based on the idea that, okay, I think I can sell this many a day. This is my expenses, so I'm going to set the profit of them so that, you know, if this many sell a day, which is the average amount I was selling, I make this much money. If people are reasonably willing to pay that, that covers my expenses. And one of the things that people noticed is that every now and then, because this is the way eBay and PayPal just fucking work, eBay is a cesspool compared to almost any other form of e-commerce. You'll find the most cesspool kind of customers there. What would happen is I would sell a screen. Somebody would install my screen, which I knew the model number of. They would take the screen out of their 5-year-old computer that was 5 years old, clearly 5 years old and beat up, a model number I've never sold, that literally has the HP model number sticker on the back, like the sticker that only comes on the screen if it came out of a computer that was manufactured by fucking HP. So that screen would go back in the box, and that screen would get sent back to me. So, and then they would file a claim. They would say that the screen that I sent them didn't work. They'd say the screen I sent them was defective or broken. They would open a claim, and they would send that screen back to me. Now they would file a claim on that $50 or $60 product, and I could not return that to my vendor because that wasn't the screen that I purchased from my vendor. That was the screen that they pulled out of their broken fucking laptop. And I thought I had all my bases covered. So when I did my assessment of what it would cost to be in business, what I should set my prices at, I never included in that, what if I get scammed? I included in it my, again, my employee cost, I included in it my rent, I included all these things in my little calculation, but the one thing I never included is how many people are going to scam me? If I get scammed, how much money will I lose per scam? And if I get scammed and lose money, how am I subsidizing that? So a big reason that company lost a lot of money is that one of the things that I didn't do is I didn't actually take into place what I could do. Because keep in mind, when it comes to PayPal and eBay, it don't matter, two shits of a fuck. The customer could send you back a brick. If the brick in the box was weighed by FedEx and it weighed the exact same 1.5 pounds as the screen that I put in the box, that's all it was. Sometimes you could call eBay and PayPal and you could scream your ass off for 3 hours. That happened to me once, and one time in 3 fucking years that they managed to reimburse me. The rest of the times that I got scammed, I just got scammed. Like, it was just, it's basic. Like, I'm selling this model in the listing. I'm literally, because I knew when I was getting scammed, I just knew 100%. You get to a point with experience where you just know. I would camcord myself receiving the package from the postman. I'd be camcording myself opening it from the individual, camcord the label, camcord opening it, and show that this is the screen that they ripped out of their fucking laptop. It doesn't matter. The seller will never win the case. Even worse if you're on Amazon. Like with eBay and PayPal, you'll actually have time to reply and have your reply get ignored before the customer wins. With Amazon, the customer will literally win the case before the item is returned in many cases. The customer wins the A to Z claim before it even gets back to you. But I digress. So they would win, and I would be screwed. There was no way for me to get that money back. It was just done. I never factored into my pricing what would happen if I got screwed. Never. And that was a reason for me to lose a lot of money. And then I noticed that because I got screwed, because something bad happened, that I then took that out on the next customer. So if a next customer had, and this is something I learned from the failed business, and this is a lesson that I applied to the not failed business that I have now. So I would sell something on thin margins because I thought that was exactly what I needed for my business to make the exact profit it needed, never taking risk into account. And then I would take it out on the next person. So the next person may actually have a legitimate gripe. He may have gotten something that was the wrong model. He may have gotten the wrong model. And I get it back and say, this is not the model I shipped. And I wouldn't even logically go through what went on. I would take it out on that guy because I was pissed off that I got scammed. And I was pissed off because I got scammed because I lost that fucking money and it pissed me off. And I would take it out on the next customer. That's the difference between the 21-year-old me and the 27-year-old me. It's a lesson. And I would want to, again, why I do these videos is because I want to impart my lessons from my mistakes that cost me a lot of money and a lot of opportunity when I was very young onto you so that you don't make those same mistakes and lose out on those same opportunities. So what I noticed, what I could start doing is start incorporating the risk. In addition to everything else, I would incorporate the risk assessment into my pricing. So I actually got to a point where I knew I would say on eBay that out of 100 transactions that I would get scammed on between 3 and 7 of them. So then I said, okay, what's the worth of it? How much do I lose if I get scammed? Let's say I get scammed, the cost of the device is $38, so I'm getting scammed $38 plus my shipping cost of $5 or $6. So let's say $42. I'm getting scammed $42 times 7. What's 42 times 7? So I would do 42 times 7. 42 times 7 is $294, right? So I would say, okay, so 42 times 7 is $294. Now 294 divided by 100 because I'm getting scammed out of $294 every 100 sales. I would see that that would come out to $2.94. So that means that over each one of those 100 sales, I need to make an extra $2.94 to make up for the fact that out of 7 sales, I'm going to get screwed out of $42. I understand that I cannot change eBay. I cannot change PayPal. I cannot cannot change the world in the way that I want. I can only change myself. If I can control myself, then I can control the world. It's a video I did a long time ago on that. So what I did is I added $3 to the price. So I added $3 to the price of the item so that now even if I did get scammed by 7 out of my 100 customers, even if 7 out of 100 customers, which is a sad fucking rate, but that was the rate in 2011 of people literally taking the old screen out of their laptop with the HP sticker on it, the Lenovo sticker on it, and sending it back to me, a model that had not been produced in 6 fucking years that there's no way in hell I could even get a hold of to sell. That was the rate of me getting scammed. So when I would actually get scammed, I would not be as mad about it. And the reason that I would not be mad when I got scammed is because it was actually subsidized. The customers that didn't scam me were subsidizing the customers that did. And it's a sad fucking reality of doing business, but when doing business, you have to take into account what your costs are and what your expenses are. What are the products and services that I'm providing cost to my customers? And what are the expenses that I incur as a result of providing those services to my customers? And one of the expenses is that you are going to get scammed. You are going to get scammed and fucked over, and you have to figure out how to deal with it. So if you're getting scammed and fucked over and it's genuinely affecting your bottom line in a negative way, of course, in some way, shape, or form, even if you are an individual with great maturity and great patience, eventually that's going to start to get to you. So what I did is I learned that it's just a part of doing business and has to be in my profit margin. So I did a video a long time ago on the restocking fee and my thoughts. I didn't like the restocking fee because I felt like I don't like the idea of punishing customers. I like the restocking fee because I didn't like the idea of raising prices for everybody just to cover the people that accidentally bought the wrong thing and returned it, where I wasted money on shipping and everything. But the idea is, at the end of the day, there are some times where you simply get scammed. And there's nothing you can do about it. You just got scammed and you got to deal with it. And if it was subsidized, if you actually incorporated that into your business model, you actually came up with a way to scientifically calculate, this is exactly how much I'm getting scammed. This is how much money I lose when I get scammed. Here's the statistical data that says how much I lose when I get scammed. And I'm going to incorporate that into my pricing. What then occurs there is that you are not going to be as angry with, okay, I got scammed. It sucks, but I incorporated for it, therefore it's okay. And it's something that happens with my business all the time, which is why I talk about it. So one example, one of the things that I learned when I was doing the supply company and I was selling a lot of screens is I noticed that international transactions have a higher level of risk than regular domestic transactions. So for example, let's say I sell something. I'm just going to make up the number because I forget. It was a long time ago that I actually did this formula. But let's say out of 100 international sales, 5 people would email me 2 days after I shipped their item with the cheapest shipping possible saying, hey dude, I know that I bought this with the cheapest shipping possible and it's Wednesday, but I bought it on Monday, it's now Wednesday, and it hasn't arrived from New York to Italy. What the hell? And then PayPal claim or A to Z claim. So and this is something that was, again, it would suck, and I would wind up getting a PayPal claim on it. So what I did is I looked up the average cost of the items that international customers were buying. I looked at the average cost of the item, so I took a bunch of international sales, then I averaged it out to a number. Then I averaged it out to what I would lose if I lost the entire money from that sale. And I did the same thing. So let's say it's 5 out of 100. This is the amount of money I lose. So what I did is I adjusted my international shipping markup to each individual customer to be an additional amount. I don't know what it was. It was something like maybe an extra 98 cents or an extra $2 or some shit like that, so that if I got screwed on international transactions, again, PayPal claims, A to Z claims, most of the time you're not going to win, particularly on eBay. But I set it up so that if I were to get claimed, if I were to get scammed by somebody and I could not take back my shipment because it had already been tendered to USPS or FedEx, that I would then be reimbursed for it. So it was actually part of my business model. One example recently. So with the flux selling, I didn't want to sell flux because I thought, selling stuff is kind of going back to the whole supply company thing. But eventually I figured out what the average rate of people complaining on international transactions are. I don't like doing international transactions, not because I hate people internationally. I have nothing against people in other sections of the world. It's just custom, shipping time, and customer expectations. Customer expectations are still that I buy an item today, I receive it in 3 to 4 days. People have that expectation, whether they're in Pennsylvania or Uganda. It is what it is. Consumer expectations are what they are. And a certain percentage of the people that purchase the flux from me are going to be mad when it actually takes time to get to their country. They're going to file a claim, they're going to win the claim, and I'm going to lose out. So I figured out what that was. And what I did is I said, okay, it happens this many times. This is the cost of the flux container and the shipping on average. I divided the cost by the amount of total sales. So let's say it was this much for the flux. This is what I lose. 5 customers out of 100 are going to scam me. So then I took that number and I divided it by the total amount of sales, and that is the amount of money that I then marked up international shipping. So when you buy something internationally, it was then marked up by I don't know, $1, $2. I don't remember exactly what it was because it's a long time ago, but I marked it up by that amount. And recently, I got a PayPal claim from somebody who's like, "Where's my stuff? I never got it." And we look at the tracking and it says, well, it's held in customs. I want to help you, but I can't go to your country's customs office. And trust me, I know that dealing with customs sucks. I've dealt with it here. It sucks. It is what it is, but it's a part of doing business. And they go, well, you declared the item wrong and you didn't declare it with a price, so I'm going to change my PayPal claim to not as described. And it's like, that's kind of scamming. So what I did is I attached a copy of my shipping label to PayPal. On the shipping label, it says NC559 V2 TF tacky flux 30cc syringe, and then on declared value, it says $33.99, which is literally the retail price that I'm selling it at. So it's just proof that the person saying this is 120% full of shit. And just look, again, they probably got the fucking flux. They're looking to get something for free. So they filed a claim. Now, I could be pissed at that. I could choose to be irritated, annoyed, angry, because everybody says, they think I'm really angry when I say those things. I'm joking for the camera. But I could choose to get angry. And the reason I don't is because I actually again, that is included. I assume that this many people will scam me. This is what I want to profit. This many people will scam me. This is what that will cost, and I include it. So what I did is I added it to the international shipping markup. Every time I ship something internationally, there's a tiny little bit, just a small bit of money that goes into that profit that is then, put aside in my mind for when somebody goes along and PayPal claims me because they don't like that it took too much time to ship something 10,000 miles away for fucking like $12, $13, whatever the hell it was. And the thing is here is I don't get irritated. It doesn't irritate me at all. So again, when Eli says something like Lewis is one day going to actually try to help somebody, barely make any money on a sale and have to deal with a chargeback or some bullshit, and then he's going to start to hate it. The reason I don't internalize it is because it is literally just business. I'm not punishing my customers. I'm not trying to punish my customers, nor do I take it personally. It's just business. One of the costs of doing business for me is when I get scammed. Like every other cost of doing business, it is simply an expense. And with all businesses that are successful, they then have to pass those expenses on to their customers in a fair manner. So I pass that expense on. And again, Steve, who works with me, is one of those people. He's one of those people that would literally spend 8 hours at work, 8 hours extra overtime, fighting somebody who scammed us when it has nothing to do with his personal income. When I go to give him his overtime on payroll, he'll be like, no, don't add it to payroll. I don't want the overtime. He will literally go that far with it, just because it's a principle thing to him. It's the principle of getting scammed. So I'm not saying that I get over it. I'm not saying I get over it as in I got scammed, fuck it, oh well. I don't internalize it or allow myself to become irritated by it. We definitely pursue it. Like every single one of those scams gets pursued to the fullest extent, even when there's a 1% chance of winning. We pursue every single one of the times that we get scammed because we never want to set a precedent that we think it's just okay because you just can't win. Because sometimes you actually do win. We pursue every single one, but I don't get mad about it. I don't get irritated. I don't get hot-headed, and I don't allow it to affect the way I deal with the next customer because it is literally in the business model. The business model includes getting scammed. So I can't feel bad about it. So when again, Eli says something along the lines of he'll be helping somebody at a lower cost than usually and get screwed and be mad, the reason that I don't get mad is because the prices that my business has for every service They actually integrate all of this into that. Chargeback risk, insurance, employees, rent, and the occasional getting scammed. You can actually put this into an equation. You can look and see on average how often you get scammed. And again, if you're a good business and you do good work and you're not working out of a really fishy area, you shouldn't have a scam percentage that's ridiculously high. Again, even when you're dealing with like scummy crap like eBay, my scam percentage was at a max of 7%. But it's still a considerable percentage, and it's still something that people do have to think about. Another example that happened recently was with a repair that I got. Somebody calls in, they completely destroyed their computer. I told them what the cost would be. It was the board repair $325. They really weren't feeling that. I kind of implied that if they weren't feeling that, they shouldn't send it. They send it anyway. They get the price. They're not really happy with it. They approve. We fix it. I noticed that the guy left his screen protector on. He fucked up his whole motherboard, not just backlight circuit, totally fucked his board. While replacing the screen, he left the screen protector on the screen and glued the glass back in. It was all a complete, total fucking mess. I open up the damn screen. I remove the protector. I fucking clean the thing out, put it on there, and the guy's like, and the guy gets it back and he's like, it's randomly crashing. And we say, dude, your bottom RAM slot doesn't work. This happens on 5 or 6 year old machines that get treated like shit. This happens on 5 and 6 year old MacBooks that are treated just fine, actually. Oh, great, my camera went out. But anyway, you can still keep listening to me even though my camera went out, can't you? So this happens on machines that are treated nicely. This happens on machines where people treat them nicely. So definitely on 6 year old machines that get fucked with, something is going to happen there. So what I tell the guy is, again, bottom RAM slot ain't working. He's okay with it. We send it back to him. He fills in the bottom RAM slot. It's crashing. He files a claim. He gets all mad. And Steve is looking at me like, not only did you fix all of his screw-ups, not only did you turn it around very quickly, but in addition to fixing all of his screw-ups, you actually took time out of your day to take off the glass, remove his screen protector, clean it, put it back on, just because you wanted that to be done right. And he still scammed you. Right? He still scammed you. The batteries in the camera went out. I can't plug this camera in because if I plug it in, it won't output HDMI or work. So it's one of the things when you buy a really high quality camera for $500, you get what you pay for. But one of the things here is, and Steve's like, man, that really sucks. You got to be pissed about that. And the reason I'm not pissed at all is because it's literally built into my cost of doing business. Did this guy scam me? Yes. And I'm reading all the messages that he sent back, and all the messages he sent me are pretty much along the lines of somebody that knows that they've scammed you. If I pick up the phone to call him, he doesn't pick up. The reason that this guy doesn't pick up is because he knows what he's doing. He knows that he never wanted to pay to begin with, and he knows that he's scamming me now. But the reason that, and we're going to fight this all the way. There's a good chance we even win it. But the whole idea here is the reason that I don't allow it to get to me to the point where I'm actually pissed off at my next customer. The reason I don't let it get to me is because it's literally part of my cost of doing business. I have built it into my business model. It is built into the business model to the point where it's just not something that I will allow myself to get irritated at. So, and this is something that also used to happen with the no backlight shit. Like, I used to have this no backlight coupon where if the only issue with your board was that it had no backlight, that I would fix it for a discounted rate. And I started getting all these boards that were supposedly just no backlight, and they weren't actually no backlight. They were dead because they had water on them. And by the time they got to me with the battery plugged in and power going through everything for a week before it got to me in the mail, they arrived fucking dead. And what the customers would then do is they would scream and charge back and bad review and blah, blah, blah. So I just got rid of it altogether. I had one tier of service. So even if you sent it in with no backlight, even if you sent in a board that had no backlight, what I would do is the moment that you have a board issue, it's going to be the same price. So you send it in with no backlight. It arrives to me dead. It's still the same price to you. So the customer has no reason to go rah, 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 because their price is not changing. It's the same flat rate. So my point here is that you can never get mad at the second customer who walks into your business because of the actions of the first customer who walks into your business. And this is something that I see a lot of small business owners screw up. They have a bad customer at their restaurant. They have a bad customer at their car dealership. They have a bad customer at their small electronics repair store. And because they have one bad customer, what happens is they allow that negative experience to then follow over into the next customer. I can have a customer curse me out, scream at me, throw something at me, curse my dead family members, say they wish they could see my cat get killed, and almost try to punch me in the face, and I don't let that get to me by the second customer at all. The second customer who walks in right after them will never see signs that my last experience before them was an experience of absolute fucking hell. They're never going to see that experience. And the reason they're never going to see that experience is because I never let it get to me. And the reason I never let it get to me is because I put policies in place that don't allow it to get to me. I put policies in place that keep it business. I completely respect and understand if people exist. I totally respect and understand if they don't want to pay me the price that I have. But the reason the prices are where they are for the services I offer is because there is a minimum charge based on the minimum expenses of having a store, having employees, and above all, having people scam you. Again, when you get enough boards where people say it's only no backlight, it arrives, you hit the power button, and smoke comes out of it and it's fucking dead, you get it. Like you'll get it after a while. So what I would say is simply set up policies for yourself that allow you to smile for every single customer. The reason I can smile for every single board repair customer is because I'm not doing this just to connector shit. If I did this tiered stuff that Jesse used to do like 2 years ago, where it's like, if it's an easy board repair, it's $39 or $49. If it's semi-hard, it's like $79. And if it's really hard, it's $99. I would shoot myself in the fucking face. The reason I would shoot myself in the face is because I would spend my entire day dealing with people who sent it in thinking it's easy at $49, realizing they needed a $99, who would scream at me. So what I did is I set my policies flat rate. I don't care what you think is wrong with your board. It's the same price, and I totally get if you don't want to pay that price for it, but it gets rid of the arguments. And since it gets rid of the arguments, it gets rid of so many arguments that I would have. It then allows me to be nice to every single customer because I'm not constantly getting that screamed at, you understand? Now, the other thing when it comes to the money, so when you get scammed, again, there's nothing you can do with policies to keep yourself from getting scammed. Sometimes you will get scammed, but what allows me to not take that personally and then not take it out on the next customer, well, the first thing is never taking it personally. So I don't take these things personally. Even if I seem like I'm getting angry because I am getting my point across for the camera, I'm not actually angry. But what I'm doing is I'm not getting angry and I'm not personalizing it because, again, I've been paid for it. So this individual who I spend extra time on is actively scamming me. He knows what he's doing. He planned it. You could hear it on the phone from the beginning phone call to the phone calls after. I should have literally rejected this repair as I reject 99% of the do-it-yourself repairs that come into the business, particularly when they come in with somebody from an attitude, because this is the way they always end. They end with that salty shit because they're salty that they destroyed their stuff, and then they're salty you're charging them money, and then they're salty when something doesn't work as a result of their screwed up crap or whatever. But the point is, I took that in. I took it in. I did an exceptional job. I put everything back together as best as that thing is ever going to go back together, and I charged them for less than what I did. And they went above and beyond to go according to their plan and scam me. Now, I could take that personally, but the reason I don't take it personally, the reason it doesn't get to me, the reason it doesn't do what Eli talked about in his video, where Eli, the computer guy, is saying, again, that you're going to help somebody out, and you're just going to do something nice, and you're going to get fucked, is because I charge a real rate for my services. So somewhere in that motherboard repair service, when I was coming up with the price, I was figuring out how many of the transactions go awry when it has nothing to do with my work. I'm not talking about warranty or anything. I'm talking about transactions that go awry when it has nothing to do with me. And that got tacked on to the price. Board repair used to be something like $250 4 years ago, and now it's $325 and $425 for rentals. Those prices did not come out of my ass. They came from me looking at expenses, looking at customer experience, looking at my ratio of getting scammed. So somewhere along the line, I built in a cost where I knew that sometimes I'm just going to get fucked in the ass and there's nothing I can do about it. And I know that from all the people who paid my rate, that somewhere in there, I incorporated that risk. So when this person screws me over and steals $325 by ripping me off, I don't internalize it because I know that I have no reason to. Did he do something wrong? Yes, but I have been compensated for it because my business took into account the cost of risk. Your business needs to always take into account the cost of risk, because if you don't take into account the real expense of risk when you get scammed, or risk when something goes wrong that you did not anticipate going wrong, then your business will go under in the same manner that my first business went under, when I didn't realize until too late in that I was not taking into account the cost of getting scammed. And you also can never let your first customer negative experience affect the next person that walks in the door. Again, it doesn't matter if somebody threatens to kill you and your family and shit on your fucking grave and screams to high hell and does all this bullshit. When they leave your store and somebody else walks into your store, you have to treat that second customer completely independently of your experience with the first one. And I know it's hard to do, but it's key to success in business. You cannot let the frustration from your first customer experience affect your second customer experience. You can change your policy. You can change what you allow into your business. You can change your prices. You can change all of these things. Again, I do not fix phones I don't fix phones for the sake of the phone. I fix them for data recovery. I don't do no backlight repairs. I only do logic board repairs as a flat rate service. I do not accept just the board. I accept the entire machine. These are policies that I put in place based on real world experiences where I got screwed by somebody. But I don't treat the customer different. I don't have an attitude towards anybody who walks into my business, and I don't have an attitude towards potential customers calling me. And the reason I don't have that attitude that you'll hear on people when they get just beat and beat and beat again, and they get a phone call that's kind of confrontational. The reason I don't have that attitude, that negative attitude, is because I make sure that my policies match my business, and that my prices match my risk assessment, so that no matter how bad an experience goes, I know that it's actually been compensated for because it's built into my model. You can never treat the next customer who walks into your business with the disdain that you have for somebody who has wronged you, scammed you, threatened you, or physically threatened you, or anything like that. If you treat each one of your customers who walks into your business as a new experience, you will have a very happy customer client base, and you're going to get a lot of good reviews. And if you make sure that you keep track of your risk and you incorporate risk into your pricing rather than just having your pricing be the bare minimum required, you're going to notice that your business's profitability is less based on luck and hope and more based on rational thinking, on equations, on real numbers, and that your business may actually get past that 2-year mark at which most small businesses fail. I hope this advice has been good. I'm not sure which part of this video is better, the first part where you can see me or the second part where you can't see me. Let me know in the comments, what do you like better? Do you like it better where you can see me, or do you like it better when you can't see my ugly face in the fucking camera wasting bandwidth on YouTube? Let me know, and as always, I hope you learned something.